Hello and welcome to the BeInCrypto podcast from the French Riviera in sunny Cannes. And today we are really glad and happy to welcome on the show Zama CEO Rand Hindi. And I think it's Rand's first time speaking to BeInCrypto. Rand, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Rand, a $1 billion valuation, very significant. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means in terms of institutional interest or just investment interest overall?
When I first started talking about Zama and the technology we were building, which is called fully homomorphic encryption, FHE, very few people knew about it and understood why it was such an important technology to build. We were lucky to have incredible investors, Multicoin, Blockchain, Pantera, Protocol Labs, who believed in what we believe, which is a confidentiality on public blockchains is going to be a major enabler of growth and adoption of blockchain overall. Specifically, if you start looking at finance, if you take something like payments, it's impossible today to use a blockchain for payments because everything would be public. With Zama's technology, fully homomorphic encryption, you can actually keep the data on the blockchain encrypted so that nobody sees how much you have, how much you're sending, or anything else. So you can use a blockchain as confidentially as you would use any kind of financial service today in the world. It's a little bit like having, in your browser when you connect to a website, you have this small lock that says data is encrypted and protected. It's effectively the same thing for blockchain.
Obviously, nobody wants to know where you had your coffee, where you paid for that, or even if you're sending large amounts of money, like that's a no-brainer. People want to keep that kind of stuff confidential. So there is a testnet out. Could you tell us some of the details about the testnet, a little bit of the technical details, what it entails and stuff like that?
When we started a company a few years ago, we were focusing on licensing our technology to other people. Most people don't know that, but 9 out of 10 blockchain projects that uses FHE uses Zama technology in the backend. Now we are moving to having our own protocol called the Zama protocol that allows you to have confidentiality on top of any blockchain, even those that don't license our technology directly. So you can have confidentiality on Ethereum, on Base, on Solana, on any really public blockchain. The ability to have that on a public blockchain means that anybody can now start building apps where the on-chain data stays confidential regardless of which chain they actually want to use to deploy it. So the Zama protocol, like every protocol, has a testnet phase where we effectively launch that and allow developers and users to try it, start building the first apps and use cases ahead of a mainnet launch where it actually goes into production.
Okay, really interesting. And obviously it does sound like there's going to be a lot of utility here. So from a user perspective, what do these kind of apps, can you describe the potential, the aspirational apps that could be built here and using this new technology?
I would say by far the biggest use case is confidential payments. If you look at stablecoins, if you look at global remittances, if you look at payroll, it's very obvious that if you want to use a blockchain for that, you need to keep data confidential. I mean, if I told you right now to open your phone and show me your bank account, would you?
Definitely. Not a chance.
Okay, there you go. And yet this is what happens in a blockchain because I could see everything you own and do. And that makes no sense whatsoever. So once you can encrypt it with homomorphic encryption, then you can start using a blockchain like you use a traditional bank account, like you use a traditional credit card for anything from buying your coffee to getting your salary to buying a house. You can do it without other people knowing about it. That's one use case. The second one is enabling trading and tokenization of financial assets confidentially. Let's imagine you are a large financial institution. You're a hedge fund, you're a bank. You want to use a blockchain for trading or even for just settling some trades with a partner. If everybody can see your trades and your positions, you're not going to have much of an advantage in the market. The whole point is to have what we call an alpha, something, a secret sauce that you don't reveal. And blockchain today don't allow you to keep things private. We're also solving that.
Okay, so for blockchain to scale, this is a solution that you think is key. This homomorphic encryption is key for blockchain use cases to scale, really. And it's chain agnostic. What are the pain points then you foresee whenever we do try to scale this technology?
Well, frankly, there aren't that many difficulties left. When we started working on this, there were three main issues. First, it didn't work. So we had to make the technology work. That's done. We today have the most secure confidentiality technology. It's even secure against quantum computers. So it's as secure as it can ever be. The second problem was it was very difficult to use for a developer. We actually solved that by integrating our technology into existing programming languages for smart contracts, like Solidity, for example, on Ethereum. So as a developer, you don't need to know cryptography to build a confidential application on chain. And finally, there's performance. FHE traditionally was very slow. We fixed that through new mathematics, better engineering, but also with better hardware. So effectively today, scaling FHE and therefore scaling global payments on chain, all these are use cases, is just a matter of putting more compute behind it. And if there's one thing we learned from AI, is that we can throw more compute and it works. We know how to do that. Just put more servers, put more GPUs, it'll go faster. So there's really nothing preventing homomorphic encryption from becoming the technology that makes it possible to have on-chain finance in a confidential manner. You can think of it a little bit like, in your browser, when you connect to a website, you have this small lock that tells you that this is encrypted and protected. We're effectively doing the same thing for blockchain.
Okay, so it's going to be a behind-the-scenes type of technology. And could you give us, obviously, you probably can't name names, but give us a sense of the appetite amongst TradFi, incumbents from TradFi for this technology?
I would say that probably over half of the companies we talk to are financial institutions that are not Web3 native. And they'll want the same thing. They want to use blockchain because blockchain is the right solution for finance. We all agree on that. That's established by everybody from Circle to all of these other companies doing that. Confidentiality was the last blocking point for mass adoption of blockchain for finance. So I'll give you two examples. We are working with a company right now that is issuing a confidential stablecoin. What it means is it's a regular stablecoin. You can use it for payment on chain, but the issuance is confidential. The amounts that you own is confidential. The amount you transfer is confidential. So you can actually use it for payment without having to disclose anything to other people. That's one example. Another example is there's a company building an on-chain self-custodial bank where your money on chain is kept confidential with our technology. So we're talking about something like Revolut, fully on-chain, self-custodial. So even if the bank goes down, you can get back your money because it's on-chain. So try to imagine the first bank that cannot rug you.
Okay, fully confidential, fully self-custodial. Now, if you are placing this or deploying this confidentiality tech, does that implicate or does that impact speed? Does it impact security? Are we what are the downsides here? Or is it going to cost more?
Speed-wise, there's going to be almost no difference. So it's not going to slow down the underlying blockchain. And the latency is a couple of seconds, few seconds. So you're probably not going to see it. Just clicking around on an app is going to take longer than that, effectively, right? So speed is not an issue. Cost is not an issue. At scale, it can be as cheap as about a cent per confidential token transfer on an L2 base. Even in Ethereum, we're just adding a couple of cents on top of the Ethereum gas fees. So, we're as cheap almost as the underlying blockchain allows us to be, pretty much. So that's not an issue. And the third one, in terms of security, we are post-quantum. So even a quantum computer cannot break homomorphic encryption, FHE. That is very important because there are many technologies that are being used today as shortcuts because they're supposedly more performant. First of all, that's not true. But second of all, those technologies have been broken and will be broken going forward. So if you want to have the best amount of security, you have to use FHE. There is nothing else that can actually get even close to it.
Quantum proofing is going to become a lot more important as we move forward. But looking into the future, down the months, down the years, any further developments, this is obviously not, this is not the end here. talk about developments, talk about any future exciting announcements there may be.
So we're in testnet now. That's already big. We're planning to have our first mainnet at the end of, let's say, October. And then from that point, we're going to have other blockchains being supported. And then it's game on. Initially, let's get at least 1% of blockchain transactions confidential, then 10, then 20. If we take again the example of HTTPS in your browser, that small lock that protects your data when connecting to a website, it went from 5% of the internet traffic being encrypted in 2010 to 96% now, I believe, in the 90s of percents. We believe FHE will follow a similar type of trajectory where, 5, 6, 10 years from now, over 90% of blockchain transactions will be encrypted and confidential with homomorphic encryption.
Okay, so this is a lot. It tells the tale about where this valuation has come from. And so it's game on, it's very exciting. And we were very, very happy and glad to welcome Zama CEO Rand Hindi to the BeInCrypto podcast. Thank you, Rand.
Thank you, Brian.